Hello, everyone, and welcome to Calls. This is the 2021 Rocket Mortgage Data Dive. A little bit of a late start tonight. I had men's golf league, and then needed to stuff my face real quick because I hadn't eaten lunch. So grabbed some quick dinner. But nevertheless, here we are, ready to dig into some statistical analysis, some finer points of data to discuss this week's tournament, the 2021 Rocket Mortgage Classic. Just a couple of quick announcements. As always, chat is up and running. Please join in. Let me know what you want to talk about. Ask your questions. Maybe throw some friendly banter at me. Considering my betting cards the last 2 weeks have been not good. But let me know how you've done. I want to hear about your successes, things that have worked for you, or talk about the show, what you want to see. So feel free to jump in chat. Please join in chat. Don't feel free to jump in chat. I want to talk. I want to interact with you all. The other announcement I make every show. All statistics are provided by FantasyNational.com. Amazing resource. Helps me tremendously in DFS and able to provide some analysis for you all. As always, let's get into some data. And we'll start by joining here on the Fantasy National homepage. And I ran through a quick data model. And it's not that I didn't like the results. It's I was more confused by them, I guess. The leader of the overall data model was Cameron Tringali, and nothing against the player by any means. You can see here at the bottom here. Let me scroll. I mean, he's at 8,100 on DraftKings, and let me pull up the DraftKings Sportsbook. He's sitting at 40 to 1. I mean, he's not a terrible player by any means, but I was afraid that I had gotten too specific in some of the kind of these optional filters over here when I ran through it yesterday. So I think for the first time I'm going to actually build a model with you all or for you all on air, as opposed to just showing you what I had built previously and what I was looking at, and kind of talk through what I'm thinking of in the moment to talk about this week's tournament. So let me make sure I've got chat up here real quick. Again, please jump in, interact with me, ask questions, make fun of me. As you could probably tell, I got a little more sun today. I explained in the research show how much sun I got over the weekend and the golf scramble and a baseball game. And well, what's the next thing I do on 2 days after getting a lot of sun? Let's just get some more sun. Let's just bake the living bejesus out of my nose and neck, and good times all around. But we're here to talk about the Rocket Mortgage Classic. So this is just the standard homepage, no filters, last 50 rounds on strokes gained. And Patrick Reed is the number one player for the last 50 rounds in strokes gained total. Strokes gained short game is number one, which seems to coincide very well with the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit. We are at Detroit Golf Club, par 72. POA greens is what it's listed on Fantasy National. Everything I've read is bluegrass. So if those are the one and the same, let me know or correct me or something in the comments. Which, by the way, comment on the video. Remember to smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. All the support is appreciated. So the greens are, as I mentioned, listed as POA on Fantasy National. Everything I've read is bluegrass. Par 72, a little over 7,300 yards. It's a Don Ross design, so we'll really dig into some data there around Don Ross designs, because there are only a few courses in the database here at Fantasy National that are Don Ross. So I think what I'm going to start with, I'm going to narrowing this down to the last 36. And I like the last 36 rounds because I feel like it gives a good baseline for the majority of what I'll call the overhead statistics: strokes gained total, tee to green, off the tees, short game. The problem with 36, filtering for 36, is if once you start getting specific, as in especially this week with Don Ross courses, there's not a lot of Don Ross courses. So if you're filtering for 36 rounds, you could be getting data back to 2015, 14, and even if it's the same player and the same course, a lot changes in 8 years. So I try to limit to 12 or 24 once I start getting very specific. But 36 is a good baseline, or at least in my opinion, to kind of see where people are in somewhat recent form, but still, I think most 36 rounds go to about February, maybe even January if they don't play a lot. So, yeah, just a little explanation of why I do the last 36 rounds. This is generally an easy course, as we looked in the research show, which, by the way, if you've not seen the research show, what are you doing? Go back and check it out. Pause the video now, and then come back to it later, and go check the research show. But this is a easy course. It is a traditional bomb and gouge course. -4 has been the historic cut line, and that is pretty darn low for the average tour event. You will see, anywhere between par -1 all the way up to +2. -4 is easy, definitely, and I get that from this course breakdown. This used to be the Quicken Loans challenge. Quicken Loans. I don't know. It used to be the Quicken Loans, and the Rocket Mortgage took over in 2019, and both years, 2019 and 2020. Sorry, let me scroll up for you. Historic cut line. 2019, 2020 were both at -4. That's pretty easy. So you're going to have to shoot low to even make the cut, and then we'll start looking into things here in a bit, on some winners, some top 10s, what these scores were, and what kind of players gravitate towards the top here. But in the last 36 rounds, it was Patrick Reed, and he's still second. Bryson DeChambeau is actually your leader for the last 36 rounds in strokes gained total. The around the green is worrisome, because this is again like a bomb and gouge. So Bryson has definitely the first half of that, the bomb, but the gouge, while generally he is known as not being affected by long rough, his around the green game has been struggling, and short game is going to be so very important at Detroit here at the Rocket Mortgage. It is a short game wedge and putting course. Not a lot of long irons into these greens. It's very easy to hit these greens, and it's very easy to hit the fairways. So players generally try to hit the ball as far as they can, get as close as they can to give themselves as many birdies as they can, which obviously that's going to be the goal every week, but every hole. But some courses allow you to do that. Some force you to lay up or make that a big challenge. Detroit does not. Detroit is an easy golf course. So Again, filtering for the last 36, you got DeChambeau, Reed, Griot, Hoffman, Kokrak, Will Z, Keegan, Tringali, Webb Simpson, and Max Homa are your top 10. Interesting to see the price points here. And we'll take a really, really big look into that, as I always do on Wednesday in the DFS Tactics show. But seeing Grillo at 8,200 and third on strokes gained total, Charlie Hoffman fourth at 8,800 is kind of interesting to see. Webb Simpson is somebody that I am definitely kind of honing in on. This feels like a very, very good Webb course. Even though length matters, he's all about hitting greens. He's known as a good putter. This sets up well for Webb Simpson. I just have one of those feelings for Webb this week. And let's see how he has played this. So he was 8th. Let me scroll down. Let's see. Yeah, you can see that. 8th last year. Didn't fare so well around the green, but gained a little bit putting. Was really good with his irons that week. Even off the tee, he gained strokes. And Webb is not known as a long hitter by any means. So this feels like a very good Webb Simpson type course. So he's one that I've kind of been honing in on. I mentioned Tringali. It's not that I don't like him and how the model came out, but I was just kind of confused by it. I was afraid I had narrowed it down too much. But there's a quick look on the strokes gained for last 36. I keep mentioning Don Ross. Let's filter for Don Ross and why it is so important to really keep in mind what you're looking at, especially if you're using Fantasy National, but to know who the designer of a golf course is, the architect is, because a lot of players will play certain courses better or worse. So right from the start, in the last 36 rounds, Ryan Armour is your number one strokes gained total on Don Ross courses. Here's the issue with that. Because it's the last 36 rounds, there are only 4 courses that are Don Ross in this database. Detroit Golf Club, where we are this week, the Rocket Mortgage. East Lake is the Tour Championship. Generally speaking, well, always, there's only 30 players that make it to East Lake. It's in Atlanta, Georgia. Plainfield, you can kind of almost throw out, as it was the host of the 2015 Barclays. And I believe 2011. But again, how much data do you want to, or how much stock do you put in data from 2015? Certainly, you can look at it. Maybe there's a trend of the type of winners, and we're certainly going to do that. But I'm going to put less weight into that than I would something else because it's all the way back from 2015. That's Plainfield. The other is Sedgefield. And Sedgefield is the host course in North Carolina the week before the FedEx Cup begins. It is the Wyndham Championships, and we're definitely going to look into how Sedgefield plays and what kind of players generally rise to the top of that leaderboard, because it's a Don Ross design and it's in the similar time frame of the year. Wyndham's played in August. This is late June, early July. So yeah, that's so we're going to be taking a look at those 4 courses, but that's why it is troubling to go 36 rounds, because if you only have 4 rounds, if you only have 4 golf courses, and at most you get 4 rounds in at Detroit, so you get 4, 8, 12, and again, remember Plainfield hasn't been used since 2015, so there's 12, 24, 36, so that's 3 years of data if you make the cut every single time in all 3 of these tournaments. And if you miss the cut in any of those tournaments, you're going back 4, 5, 6, maybe even longer years. So especially with Don Ross, I'm going to limit this to probably 24, maybe even 12. And only because Don Ross has so few courses in this database. Jack Nicklaus, Pete Dye designs are a lot more common. So let's start with the last 24 rounds of Don Ross designs. And as you can see, Ryan Armour still plays them very well, but you see he's only got 22 rounds now as opposed to the 36. And I'd be interested to see, I'm going to do this time frame here in a second. Jason Day rises to the top, and he was making some noise last week at the Travelers. Jason Day rises to the top for the last 24 rounds. So you have Day and Webb Simpson again, Ryan Armour, Rory Sabatini at 6,900. That's interesting. Nate Lashley. Sepp Straka has played this event very well in the past. Not in very good recent form lately, as you can see, but did top 10 the Travelers this past week. But before that, you had a miscut. You had 3 miscuts. And then you made a few cuts, but nothing, nothing to write home about. He did top 10 at an alternate event, the Corrales, down in the Dominican. So he hasn't been in great form. However, and again, I don't want to harp on it too much, but I just caught this scrolling down here at the Wyndham, which is the Sedgefield course, one of the only 4 in the database. He missed the cut there. But he has played this particular event, the Rocket Mortgage, 8th and 11th, the 2 years it's been in existence. He's played it very, very, very well. And you'll notice that Sepp Straka, his best putting surface by far is POA, which is what these are labeled as. So Sepp Straka is somebody that I'm certainly gravitating towards as well. And in the betting market, he is at, I saw him earlier, Sepp Straka at 90 to 1. So that's a very interesting bet that I'm kind of looking at. And if you remember from the U.S. Open, I was gonna bet Hovland at 28. I kind of held, and then his price fell to 22, and I ended up pulling the trigger on 22. Whereas if I would have pulled the trigger at 28, I'd have felt obviously a lot better. Now he withdrew from the tournament, so maybe I'm just snake biting people. I'm the kiss of death, announcer's jinx, if you will. I certainly hope not, but Sepp Straka is somebody I'm pretty keen on. Bryce Garnett, Ben On, he kind of pops in a lot of these models. I am always scared on Ben On because of this right here. He cannot putt worth a fuck. And I am a big proponent of putting being a fickle statistic. It is good one week, bad the next. It's not very stable. I mean, there's a lot to like here from Ben On. Tee to green, he's number 1 the last 24 rounds on Don Ross. Number 1 in ball striking, number 2 in approach. But the putting, you may want to talk yourself into maybe he's just had a bad run of putting. And in the case, he is a historically terrible putter. And POA, he loses a stroke a round, not per tournament, a stroke a round on POA. I mean, everything is negative, but a stroke a round. And you can see in his last 132 events, he's lost 2 strokes putting. He's lost 2.5 in his last 20, 1.5 in his last 10. I mean, let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 straight events he's lost strokes on the green. I got nothing else for you. If you want to play Ben On or bet Ben On, all the power to you. If he wins, you deserve all the credit, because I am not going to put my stock into somebody that is historically bad. If there were a little bit of, gains here, greens, or even, evens, just, average the field, I'd feel a lot more, a lot better. But, there are some atrocious numbers. 3.5, 3. Come down here at the Farmers earlier this year, 8.5 strokes. You come back to, early this season, the fall part of the season, losing 6. Sorry, let me scroll that up for you. 6.3, 6.3, 4.7, 4.2. This guy just, if you put the putter in his hand, run the fuck away. Run away. It is scary. I seriously don't know if he putts with his eyes open. I don't know if he's facing the wrong, even the right way when he's putting. But if you want to believe in these portions of the statistics, by all means, there's somebody, that's somebody to look at. And at 6,600, but this course, putting is so key at this course that, I basically don't even consider being on in the field, just to be honest. I just can't. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't get past it. So, been on there, tied for 6. Matt Wolff, 9th in strokes gained total on Don Ross Designs. Camilo Villegas. There's Snedeker, Matsuyama. So that gives you an idea of who kind of pops on Don Ross Designs, and as we shrink and get more recent. Remember, I've still got the Don Ross filter on. As we get more and more recent, Bryce Garnett rises to the top. Nate Lashley, there's Sepp Straka that we talked about earlier. Matt Wolff still up there. Ben On still up there. Kokrak, Armour, Kirk, Willett, Mackenzie Hughes, McCarthy, McNeely, Deschamps, and Norlander are your top 15. Some interesting names there. Bryson still being, the prototypical bomb and gouge. It's his approaches that have held him back recently on Don Ross Designs. So something to definitely take a look at. But again, that was a long-winded way of saying that I really try to narrow down the sample size when filtering on this Don Ross metric. But if we come back and, since we're here at 12 rounds, let's just take a look and see who is really in great form in the past 12 rounds. 3 tournaments, the last 3 tournaments if they made the cut, the last 6 tournaments if they have missed the cut in all of them. And Patrick Reed is back to being number 1 in the most recent form. Hank Lebioda, who's been playing some very good golf lately. Very good golf. We're not on Bermuda, which is a good thing, clearly. You look at his last 5 events. He's always been known as a decent putter, at least to what I know. His baseline long term hasn't been good. But I always think he's been a fairly decent putter, at least in memory. So he's gained 2.5. His putter has been coming around. Last week at the Travelers, he gained 6 strokes on the green. Palmetto, he gained 4. Byron Nelson, he gained 3. Wells Fargo, he even lost. He lost 5 strokes on the green and still came out ahead in strokes gained total relative to the field. So that is how well he's been playing lately. Valspar even played well. And he's got some high finishes in there. 5th at the Travelers, 17th at the Byron Nelson, 13th at the Valspar. And when you're paying $7,200, those are some results that you can live with. Absolutely. Did not play well at all at the Valero. Missed the cut at the alternate event. Missed the cut at Honda. So he's what the pundits in the industry call whack-a-mole. He is kind of all over the place in regards to his statistics. 1 week, His putter is lights out. He's not very good off the tee. The next, he's losing on approach, but gaining with the putter and gaining off the tee. Then the next, he'll lose off the tee, gain in the approach. So he's kind of playing whack-a-mole. If you put it all together, like he did this past week at the Travelers, I mean, he broke even with the field. I know it's labeled a little red, but broke even with the field. You're going to get a high finish like that, and if you're only paying $7,100 in DraftKings salary for that, I'll take that every single time. I don't want to get too much into the DFS because that'll be for Wednesday, but yeah. So Hank Lebioda is certainly somebody to kind of put on the list to start per se. Let's see. So there's the most recent form, 12 rounds with no filters. Something that I kind of want to look at, these are classified as POA greens, and they are always fast. They're always fast here at Detroit. It is one of the only defenses that the course has. There's a little bit of water on the front nine, but there's not a lot of natural defense, and the wind is generally calm, so they have to keep the greens fast to have any kind of defense for the course. And in the last 12 rounds, again, we'll expand this out a little bit but I've been keeping the 12 rounds here for a bit. In the last 12 rounds, these are your top putters on POA, fast POA greens. You've got Stewart and Lashley. There's Patrick Reed again. Denny McCarthy, who's known as a good putter anyway. McNeely. Bryson generally putts POA pretty well. Scott Harrington. Vaughn Taylor, who's a very good putter, but doesn't really do anything else all that well. There's Straka again. Brant Snecker. There's your top 10 in fast POA putters. You got Peter Malnati, Chris Baker, Jonas Blixt again, who had a decent tournament at the Travelers. Patrick Rogers, KH Lee's a winner this year. So there's some names for you, and the price points on your fast POA greens, and some other courses that have the same POA and fast rating. You've got Bethpage, Club de Chapultepec, I think that's how you say that. That's WG Mexico, Glen Oaks, Monterey. That Monterey's part of the Pebble Beach Triumvirate whenever they play the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Plainfield, which we talked about, was the 2015 Barclays. Spyglass is the third of that triumvirate. It's Monterey, Spyglass, and Pebble. Riviera, where the Genesis Invitational is always fast POA, and Torrey Pines, where the U.S. Open just happened. So that gives you an idea when you're starting to think who putted well on those or at those tournaments. This should be similar. Now, granted, you can always have an off week, but it should be similar. Let's remove those two filters, and let's kind of look at the course length here. Let's spread this out. Let's go last 36 rounds on courses of this length, in between 72 and 7,400. And I'm more so looking at approach for this, only because it's a kind of a middling distance-wise. Most of the approach shots here will come between 0 and about 100 yards. Again, it's a bomb and gouge place. This course averages 13 yards more than the average tour event. I believe the average drive here is about 295, 296, and the average tour event's about 282. So in the last 36 rounds, Charlie Hoffman is your number one approach player. Chez Reavie, Keegan Bradley, Gary Woodland, Willie Z, Homa Stallings, Gim, Percy, and Doc Redman. Doc Redman's also somebody to keep an eye on. He has played this course extremely well in the past 2 years. Coming off a fairly lackluster Travelers, You got second of the Palmetto for lackluster 2 events before that. Ninth at the Byron Nelson though. He's playing some good form. Off the tee game is not good right now, and I think this course it might be okay for him. I know length's gonna matter, but if fairways are easier to hit, and we'll take a look at this later on about driving distance. If Doc Redman can be closer to field average, he is somebody to really, really, really hone in on this week. As I am looking, I'm trying to see if he played. Yeah, all right. There's a good sign. Third at the Wyndham last year, and look at all those strokes gained tee to green. That's 5 off the tee. And again, I'm focusing on Wyndham because it is a Don Ross design, and there's not many in this database. So when we search for the Rocket Mortgage, it's 21st last year, runner-up the year before. So he's traditionally played this course very, very well. So that's somebody else I'm kind of looking at. Before we get headlong into some serious stats, I'm going to kind of be looking off to the side here, talking about the DraftKings Sportsbook odds. Your heavy favorite is Bryson DeChambeau at 7.5 to 1. The Palmetto Championship, where it was widely believed to be a two horse race between Brooks and DJ, both of them were under 10, or maybe 8 and 10 or so. 7.5 is really, really low, but it's understandable. DeChambeau has played this course really well as well. When we search for the Rocket Mortgage, he's your defending champion. I was being a little facetious, I knew that, but his stats will be a bit skewed because he's only played it once. But there's a reason why he putted the daylights out last year. So if you want to take the narrative to fade him, by all means, that's an easy one for me to take the narrative. There's a reason he's also 7.5 to 1. He's a big favorite. If on a bomb and gouge course, Bryson DeChambeau is probably up near the top 1 or 2 of people that you would want to back. But look, going back to DraftKings Sportsbook, so DeChambeau is 7.5. Reed at 11, Matsuyama at 18, Webb at 18, and Neiman at 20. Those are your 5 kind of favorites at the moment. And in the past 36 rounds with no filters, you've got DeChambeau. Oh, I'm sorry. There is one filter. No, I took it off. So in the past 36 rounds, DeChambeau is your number 1, Reed is your number 2. And then it goes to Matsuyama, who's 11th, Webb Simpson, 9th, and Neiman, where is he? Oh, 12th. So nothing too crazy off there, at least by odds/strokes gained total. Grillo is sitting fairly close at 40 to 1. Hoffman is at 33. Kokrak is at 28. So these are your kind of your second tier type betting favorites. Going from 20 to 50, you would say Jason Day at 22, Will Z at 25. I like Will Z quite a bit this week. Obviously, he's not played this event before, but Poa is the one surface he's not an abject failure on. So you can you can't throw these away. He's been a bad putter in his short career. There's no arguing that. But if you find a week where the putter is pretty good, given the baseline of these other things here, the green, you're going to find a better finish than 42nd. see here, 15th at the Genesis when his around the green was really bad, and the off the tee was field average. When before that, and even after, except for the Heritage, he's been gaining strokes off the tee. So when his putter goes, he goes. And you can see here, there's a lot of Korn Ferry starts. He had that 4th at the U.S. Open last year. So Willsey is somebody I like this week. Certainly the putter scares me, but it's not as abject failure as been on. So at 25-1, it's something. It's certainly one I'm thinking about. Not sure if I'll actually go with it. Kokrak 28, Wolf 28, Hoffman M, Kisner 33, Griot, Siwoo, and Tringali at 40. Keegan and Bubba at 45. But Bubba will be interesting because he's coming off that atrocious back nine, kind of like DeChamp at the U.S. Open, atrocious back nine at the Travelers, an event he has won 3 times, I think. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see where his kind of mindset, his psyche is. And then the 50-1s, Ricky, Homa, Doc Redman, who I like a lot this week, Woodland, and Woodland at 50. Again, I like Redman. We went through him just a bit ago. Let's take a look at easy courses of this length and see who kind of pops up here. We'll filter this down to 24 rounds. That way we're not getting a whole lot of historical data, some old data, 2015, 16, 14, such like that. Matthew Wolff is your number 1 player of the last 24 rounds on easy courses that are of this length. So you have Wolff, Hideki, Kevin Kisner's popping, who had a pretty good week last week. Gary Woodland, there's Doc Redman again, Bryce, Webb Simpson. I think this is a good Webb Simpson course. Jason Kokrak, Bronson Burgoon is a name that pops. Holy moly, Bronson Burgoon. Haven't heard that name in a long time. Harold Varner III is 10th. Got Hahn and M and Stewart and Ben on and Cameron Davis. Bronson Burgoon. Let's just have ourselves a trip down that highway. Bronson Burgoon. I don't even see him. There he is. 200-1. Hey, there's your bomb of the week. If you want to believe the easy scoring of this length narrative, I think I would need a little bit more evidence than that. But, hey. Something else to look at. These are traditionally very easy fairways to hit. I'm not going to go too far with that. But let's check some Don Ross and Don Ross. I'm just trying to think here. Let's do easy Don Ross courses. Webb Simpson, number 1. Webb Simpson, Ben on, Nate Lashley, Armour, Snedeker, Garnett, Wolf, Every, DeChamp, and Straka are your top 10. Let's do Don Ross and Poa. Let's see how that goes. And who your number 1 is there. Jason Day, Nate Lashley. So this is just Detroit Golf Club. Interesting. Plainfield, the 2015 Barclays is in this data, but this is all Detroit Golf Club. So that's interesting. The last time players have played, the Detroit Golf Club. And there's your strokes gained totals, or who's leading them. That's very interesting. I didn't even mean to single out Detroit Golf Club, but I did. Huh. So Jason Day, Nate Lashley. Nate Lashley? Really? He's got to be long shot as well. Nate Lashley. Huh. There's Whaley. There's Burgoon. Goodness gracious, he's actually lower than. All right, I'm just going to control F this. Stop wasting time. Lashley, 150 to 1, so I did pass him. Lashley's 150 to 1. Let's see what the deal is with Nate Lashley. All right, good POA putter. You also like to see this. It's projected to be calm this week. He's in inconsistent form is what I'll say. Generally bad form, but inconsistent. He did make the cut this week, and then, that's basically it. He just played the weekend. Decent showing at the Charles Schwab, but then 3 missed cuts prior to that. Not a lot of exciting finishes here. And then he had a tie for 5th and a 17th in the early February at Pebble Beach, and then at Scottsdale. But let's look at where these Don Ross POA stats are coming from. I mean, what's he done at this Rocket Mortgage? Well, all right. I kind of forgot that, but now that it's there, I remember now. Missed the cut last year, but he won in 2019, and just beat the hell out of the field. So yeah, there's some. Let's narrow it to 12. Last 12 rounds played at the. It's probably the same. Yeah. Speaking of the Detroit Golf Club, let's take a look at tournament history. So I wanted to make sure I did this, and this is how people have fared at this event, at this course. Like I said, Doc Redman, Cameron Tringali kind of pops here at the 30th and a tie for 5th. Kevin Kisner played well here last year. Matthew Wolff missed the cut his first year, but then second last year. Sepp Straka, 8th and 11th we talked about. 4th and 46, you got Ryan Armour. So interesting to see here. Let's take a look at some scoreboards and what it took to win. So Bryson, and as you can see, 23 was your winner. Wolff at 20, Kisner at 18. So you had a lot of low scores out there. A lot of low scores. I'm just moving down the way to the cut line. I mean, the cut was at -4, and Harry Higgs just kind of blew up on the weekend. But, excuse me, I thought I was going to sneeze. The cut line at -4, it just kept going up and up and up. I mean, you can see Siwoo Kim, basically went -2 average -2 per day and finished tied for 57th. So you have to go really, really low to score here, or to compete here. Not score here, compete here. You can see the rough is generally long, the greens are fast, the wind was calm, fairways are easy. So let's take par 72, POA. Let's take a look at the 2019. Lashley at 25, Redman 19, Sabatini and Roach 18, Tringali 17. So you have 23 and 25. That is, that's going low for this tournament. Oh shoot, I didn't want to add Bermuda. Let's take off POA. Let's take off Don Ross. I really quickly before I get into what I'm thinking of as a stat model, kind of the upper tier long shots, from 50 to 100. You've got Higo at 55, Griffin and Todd 60, Gim and Kirk and Varner at 66, Hadwin, Hickok, Matt Jones at 80. McNeely at 80, Mickelson at 80, Snedeker at 80, a lot of 80s, Kyle Stanley at 80, then Joel Damon, Garnett, Glover, Hubbard, Knox, Merritt, Noren, Pat Perez, Chez Reavie, and Straka at 90. And then a lot of 100s. I don't want to even get into it, but I've kind of highlighted a few people that I kind of like. I like Denny McCarthy too at 125. That's not a terrible value there. If you want Ben on, for the reasons that we talked about a little earlier, he's 150. Cameron Champ is a very interesting name. Bombs it with the best of them. The rest of his game is, but if you're looking just for pure length, Cameron Champ's at 150 to 1. So there's a high level overview of the DraftKings Sportsbook odds. Let's build a model here fairly quickly. We're getting close to the time. So let's do. So let's build a custom stat model, and let's add a new one. And this is one of the reasons why I heavily recommend FantasyNational.com. You can save all of your data models for your courses. So year over year, you can find what worked, what didn't, really hone in on it. As you can see, I've saved Colonial, Congaree, that's Palmetto, the PGA, Memorial. So I've got all these saved. I'm going to name this the Detroit, if I could type and or spell. So my initial lean here, let me make sure that the chat's still up, sorry. My initial lean here, I am always going to favor approach. And normally I put this at 25% because I want my players to be really good with their irons. That is the kind of player I really like to focus on. I'm actually going to lower that to just 15% this week. It is just not going to be a factor as much. I still want guys to be able to hit their irons, but it's just not as much of a factor this week. It just isn't. Conversely, putting is going to be so very important. I hate putting putting at 15%, but the stats don't lie. When you come to the course breakdown, strokes gained putting, I mean, it far outweighs everything in regards to your top 10 finishers. And a short game far outweighs the ball striking part. I mean, it could be argued that I am putting approach still too high. I just have a hard time. That's me as the person, putting approach lower than, say, 15%. But there is absolutely a reason to do it. And that's why you should invest in FantasyNational.com, so you can make your own statistical model and tell me how much of an idiot I am. But we talked about how important it is to go low at this place. You have to shoot some really low scores to contend. So you want to add, I want to look at players that are very good at getting birdies or better. I might bump this up even still to 15, but I'm going to keep it at 10 right now because there's a few things I know I want to keep an eye on. We definitely want to look at driving distance. The guys that can hit it out there. This is a bomb and gouge course. You have to be able, I mean, the fairways are going to be easy to hit. Then you just bomb it. Because if there's no relative advantage that you're going to gain from hitting the fairway, because most of your competitors you just go long. So you definitely want to look at driving distance. The par threes, I'm not really too honed in on. There are obviously 4 par threes, and they all fall into or one falls into each of these categories, so you can't really hone in on a specific hole or a specific type of par 3. Same goes with par 4. Now the plurality is from 350 to 400 and 450 to 500. There's about, I think it goes 4, 2, and 4. So there's none that are drivable. There's none that are very long. They're all in this range. But again, it's not a there's not a majority or a big majority, as opposed to last week at the Travelers. I mean, there were 12 par 4s, and I believe 8 fell into, I think it was this category. So I really took a deeper look into that. The par 5s, 3 of the 4 fall into this range. So I am going to look at that a little bit, see who plays those par 5s very well. And again, you have to shoot low. The 4 easiest holes on the course historically have been the 4 par 5s. So you really want to make sure you have people or players that can take advantage of par 5s. And I'm using this one because 3 of the 4 fall into this range. Proximity, I am really, really, really focused on this one right here. You're going to have to be good with your wedges. You have to be good with your wedges. Most of the approach shots, if you're going to try to hit it as far as you can, most of your approach shots are going to come within this range. And again, that's due to this graph right here. Approach shot distribution. Not a lot of long irons in here. Not a lot at all. You get a little bit of the 125 to 150, but 0 to 75 is almost 2.5% percentage points more. But here it is 5 percentage points higher. So I'm really focused in on this range here, 75 to 100. It could be argued I could look at the 0 to 75, but I'm kind of just focused in on that right now. I really want to see who's good in that range. Putting, well, I guess we're only at 70%. Let's just kind of bump up these stats or the percentages here a little bit. I'm trying to add or think of if I want to add anything else with short game. We saw short game being so important here. Let's add that. Maybe put that at 15%. We have 15% to distribute. I mean, should be I guess we'll add some putting. I hate putting putting above approach, but kind of have to here. Let's bump up the driving distance a little bit, and yeah, let's add some birdies. You gotta just go low here. So there's my first kind of, I'll say first. This is my revisited data model that I kind of built on the fly for you all here, and let's see what happens. Let's see what we get. And I'll have to change this to the last 36. So this is right now at the last 12. Let's just change that to 36 and see what comes up. Make sure I don't have any parameters checked, filters. Nope. Let's see what comes up. Based on what I just input, 15 approach, 20, 15, and so on. Number 1 player is Charley Hoffman. No surprise. He's playing out of his mind. This man's unconscious. Don't wake him up. He has cooled off a little bit, but there was a stretch there of about a month and a half. 4 or 5 tournaments. He was on fire. There's Cameron Tringale at number 2. So perhaps my first data model wasn't so terrible, or at least it's consistent. Max Homa 3, Kokrak 4, Reed 5, Kazire 6th, Webb Simpson 7th, Higo, Desham, and Glover round out the top 10. Wolf, Willett, Neiman, Snedeker, Munoz, Doc Redman again. So that's just on the last 36 rounds, which is fine. That gives you a good base, good understanding. Again, I want to see who plays these Don Ross courses well. That is just going to be, it's going to limit the sample size quite a bit. So I'm going to lower this sample size to about 12 rounds, because there's only 4 golf courses. I might do 24, but let's look and see what the last 12 is using the percentages that I had given it. 15%, birdies are better, distance, so on and so forth. Number 1 here, Sepp Straka. Okay, so Sepp Straka, somebody we talked about who's played this course very well. Matthew Wolff, second last year. Makes a lot of sense. Neiman, I believe Neiman's played this course very well too. I say that watching Miss the Cup both the times, but I believe he has played this event fairly well. And he's in pretty good form. That is certainly troubling because he's never been a good around the green player, and around the green is going to be so very important this week. But if he can just be here with the baseline of everything else, Joaquin Niemann's a name to kind of look out for as well. Let's look at Rocket Mortgage. So he was 5th in 2019 and did not play in it last year. So some good vibes there. This part's a little scary for me, but Niemann's a name to look at. Mackenzie Hughes, Nate Lashley. There's Nate Lashley again. Well, again, he won in 2019. Not the longest hitter, obviously, so be wary there. Denny McCarthy, Day, Charles Howell, Ryan Armour, and Bryce Garnett round out your top 10. Bryce Garnett keeps popping up. Let's see what his deal is here. He's in decent form. 5th at the Travelers. I think we might have already looked at him. I can't remember. Oh, no, we had. So 17th in 2019. Didn't play it last year. So 5th at the Travelers. Oh, gosh. He demolished the field last week on the green. That's why he was 5th. Couldn't do a goddamn thing else. Sorry, gosh dang thing else. That's something I'm working on. He couldn't do anything else. So gaining 14 strokes on the green, you don't depend on that. That's why I call putting such a fickle statistic, because the last tournament he played, he lost 3. And he gained 3. And he lost. So that's why I generally call putting a fickle statistic unless you're bent on, in which it's just a atrocious, abject failure statistic. But not in great form. Bryce Garnett is entering with. Yeah, he keeps popping on the models in the top 15 or so. Yeah, I'm not getting there. Spawn, Kisner, Kokrak, Ricky, and Lanto round out the top 15 there. That's with the Don Ross filter. Let's take that off. Let's add, Poa Greens here. Excuse me, with the same percentages that I have for this custom data model. I'll add fast because both years these have been fast greens. Number 1, hey, don't have to look very far. Bryson DeChambeau, number 1. Patrick Reed, number 4. J.B. Holmes is second on fast Poa greens given these percentages. Doc Redman, 3rd. Reed Woodland popped again. Ricky Fowler again. Jason Day, Eric Ben Royan, Lashley, and Straka. So you see the kind of guys that are gravitating towards the top in regards to these kind of statistics here. So yeah, that is kind of where I am looking at right now. I'm certainly gonna I will be refining this a bit throughout the week, especially Wednesday for the DFS Tactics show. Hopefully I gave you all some good ideas or some good advice for the outright betting. Some interesting values for sure. Interesting values. I think I talked myself into a few bets this evening. Sepp Straka for one, Doc Redman on another one. So again, comment below. I'll always get to those questions after the video. Comment below. Who are you looking at this week? Maybe somebody who you're fading this week. What kind of statistic are you looking at for this week at the Detroit Golf Club? So with that, I think it's going to be a wrap on the 2021 Rocket Mortgage Data Dive show. Thanks for tuning in. Again, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. The support's always appreciated. Come back Wednesday for the DFS Tactics show that I always do right before the tournament. We'll get a final update on the wind, see if there's an AM PM split there. Get an idea of ownership, or at least projected ownership for your DFS contests through the weekend. And I don't know, we might come back and visit this data model, come back to the betting odds, see if they've changed a lot, and I'll give you my final betting card. So until Wednesday, may all your bets be profitable.